Hey everybody! Today we're going to be working on writing and reading algebraic expressions. So very quickly, I want to remind you that a numerical expression is a math expression or a math problem that contains numbers and operations. And algebraic expressions are those things we've been working on that have numbers, variables, and operations. So as we go through today's lesson, I'm going to ask you to add some things to your notebook, so please make sure that you do that. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a tree map in our notebook. So I'd like you to go ahead and write this particular thing at the top of your notebook page for today. It says verbal phrases and algebraic expressions. And then you're going to draw a branch off of that title. And we're going to have 4 main branches on our tree. So feel free to pause the video and make sure that yours looks like this before we go any further. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the words or phrases under each of these operations that we should recognize if we see them in an algebraic expression. So let's start with addition. The first thing that you should understand with addition is that all of these words mean addition. So write these down just like they look on my screen. Sum, we know that sum, of course, means that you add 2 things or multiple things. If we say more, then that means addition. Plus, increased by, added to, total, and perimeter. And of course, perimeter means addition because to find the perimeter of a figure, you add all of the outside measurements. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead, write down all of these under the addition column. Next, we're going to do subtraction. Subtraction, there are words that mean subtraction as well, like difference. We know that difference in a word problem means to find the difference between 2 numbers. Less and less than you have to be very careful with, but both of those do mean subtraction. Of course, they might just say minus. Decreased by would mean subtraction, and fewer than. So again, pause the video, make sure that you have these in your notebook. Next, we're going to go to multiplication. Multiplication, the basic root word is product. We know that a product is the answer we get whenever we multiply 2 numbers together. They might just say a number times another number. They might also say a number multiplied by something. Of typically means multiplication. Area is very similar to the perimeter example that we looked at here, where if you have 2 measurements, you do have to multiply them together to get the area. If we say twice, then of course that means that you double something, so you might also want to write down double. And then we're going to look at some exponents in just a second. Pause the video if you need to and copy these down. The last one that we're going to look at is division. And division is the shortest list. We have quotient, which is the number you get when you divide 2 numbers. Basic divided by. The ratio of, which of course we know a ratio is a comparison, but it can also be written as a division problem. And then the phrase per. So now that you have this tree map in your notebook, we're also going to add some additional information. So we want to make sure that you understand that exponent phrases are of course multiplication because we looked at that, but I need you to make sure that you understand that there are some basic phrases that you should know, and we've talked about these a little bit. If you see something about the square of a number, then that means the number with an exponent of 2. So if you will write these down, you can even add them under your multiplication column if you would like to. The cube of a number, or a number cubed, means the number with an exponent of 3. And then the last one is, it might just say a number raised to a particular power. And that means that your number is your base, as you see here, and then whatever your power is becomes your exponent. So go ahead and add those to your tree map, or just write them down into your notebook. So the way that this works is you have to look at the expression that they give you in phrase form and decide what it will look like in math form. So here's a really good example. It says the product of 7 and k. So you have to ask yourself, what does product mean? And then you find your numbers and your variables. And keep in mind that sometimes they won't give you a variable, you'll just have to make one up. So this says the product. So we know that product means that you're going to multiply And we have 7 as a constant, and we have k as a variable. So that means that our final answer will look something like the examples here of 7k or 7 dot k. And then, of course, remember, it could also be written 7 parentheses k. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some examples in your notebook that look like these. So if you already copied this one down, great, but you didn't have to. Let's go through some examples and let's make sure you write these down. So I want you to write down this one in your notebook. It says 6 times z. If you need to pause, go ahead, pause and do whatever you need to do. So basically we're looking at, we have 6, and then we have the word times, and then we have a variable, which is z. So we know that times means that we're going to multiply. So when we write this one out, it's going to look like this, 6z. If you prefer to write 6 dot z, that's fine. You could also do 6 parentheses z. It's sort of up to you as to what your preference is. Make sure that your z does look like a z. I like to do this to mine so that it doesn't look like a 2. So I think you kind of get the hang of what I'm expecting you to do in your notebook. Let's do another example. Copy this one down in your notebook. It says m increased by 3.4. Again, pause the video if you need to copy it down. Because then what we're going to do is we're going to look at this and we're going to decide, oh, okay, well, they're wanting me to increase something. And we know that increase by means that we are going to be adding. And so when we write this one, it's going to look like this. M, because that's the variable that they gave me. Again, if they didn't give me a variable, I would just make up one that I wanted to use. Increased by is a plus, and then the constant that they gave me is 3.4. A few more examples. 34 less than k. Copy that one down for me. 34 less than k. This is one of those tricky ones that I told you you had to be really careful about, and I want you to think about this. If I said that you were 10 years old and your brother was 2 years less than you, then reasoning tells you that your brother can't be older than you. So this means that I'm trying to find a number that's 34 less than whatever k is. So if that's the case, we know that this is going to be subtraction, but keep in mind that 34 minus k is not the same thing as k minus 34. So you have to ask yourself, which one of these is the one that I'm really looking for? Am I looking for 34 minus k? Do I want something less than 34, or do I want 34 less than k? And since I want 34 less than k, that means the one that I'm actually looking for looks like this, k minus 34. I'm looking for what is 34 less than k. Copy this one down and let's do this one. This one should be a rather easy one because it says write an expression for 23 times q. Well, times of course means that we're going to multiply. So that's just going to be a basic 23q. And one more example. This one says 5 divided by y. This one's easy. We have divided by. Now this one, you can actually write this one lots of different ways. You could put 5, division symbol, y. You could write it as a fraction if you wanted, as 5 over y, keeping in mind that fraction bars can be another way to write division. So I hope that this has been a good little video lesson for you. Please make sure that you have all of these examples in your notebook. Feel free to go back and rewind the video, rewatch the video if you need to before you start on your next activity. Thanks.